Good morning and happy Friday. Hope everyone is looking forward to the weekend. Well, on today's episode, we got a bit of a mix between former Tigers, current Tigers, and some stuff that's maybe not truly related to the football program. But of course, you probably saw that DJ Moore, the former Chicago Bears wide receiver, was traded to the Buffalo Bills. So we're going to take a look about what Luther Burden's going to be doing to step up in that role. Of course, the former Tiger, one of the best overall recruits to ever come to Mizzou. Also looking at every true Tiger, which is the NIL for Mizzou. They got a new face. Also looking at some playmakers that Chip Lindsey's talking about. One of them being Shaun Terry II, who we will touch on at the end. But first things first, let's talk a little bit about Luther Burden III. If you know Mizzou football, you know Lou. He was, of course, a Blitnikoff Award semifinalist in 2023, a first-team All-SEC guy in 2023 and 2024. Had over 2,200 yards in his career with 21 touchdowns. He also rushed for about 230 yards and 4 touchdowns. Also returned a punt for a touchdown. Was an absolute stud, basically, from the moment he walked on campus. Was incredible. His true sophomore year, 1,200 yards, 9 touchdowns. Pretty incredible numbers there. Wasn't used that much in the ground game that year. In 2024, kind of saw him be used in the ground game a little bit more, 115 yards on the ground with 2 touchdowns there. But 676 yards. And you like to think that he probably would have been a first-round guy if he would have kept that production from sophomore year into his junior year when he, of course, left. But if he wasn't able to leave after his sophomore year, he probably would have been a first-round pick. He's a 5-star recruit. Picked the Tigers over both Georgia and Alabama. So homegrown guy, the East St. Louis pipeline that we've been touching on a little bit in past episodes with some other guys. But of course, pick number 39 to the Chicago Bears in the second round. Scored his first touchdown of the year on a 65-yard flea flicker against the Cowboys. This past season, 47 receptions, 650 yards, 2 touchdowns. He had a big, kind of towards the end of the season, he really found himself in a much larger role. He had pretty incredible game against the Niners in Week 17. 8 catches, 138 yards, and a touchdown. Definitely the best game of his pro career thus far. Had some big catches in the playoffs against the Rams, and you definitely expect him to be stepping up a lot more now with DJ Moore gone. So the wide receiver room for the Bears is Rome Odunze and Luther Burden are definitely the two standouts. Wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. It's going to be really, really cool to see Luther Burden balling out as a wide receiver 2. Could potentially overtake Rome for that wide receiver 1 role. Rome's more of a, contested catch guy down the field. He's going to make those plays, but with the ball in Luther's hands, he's like a human joystick. Like, it's absolutely incredible. He makes players miss all the time. It's really, really cool to see. When I was a student at Mizzou watching him play, outside of Mizzou, getting him to watch him play on Sundays as well is absolutely awesome, and it's really, really cool to see a Tiger kind of doing those things in the NFL. Expecting him to have a much larger role next year with DJ Moore gone. What that is going to be remains to be seen. Of course, DJ Moore was just traded on Thursday to the Bears for a second-round pick. For the Bears got a second-round pick back for him, but Luther Burden going to be stepping up in a big way for the Chicago Bears. And if you know Mizzou football, you love Luther Burden, you love what he did for the program. Some of the highlights and clips you see on TikTok and Twitter are absolutely unreal, just making players miss from when he was in high school all the way to the pros now. So I'm changing gears a little bit, going to talk a little about Every True Tiger. So if you don't know what Every True Tiger is, it is basically Mizzou's kind of NIL branding, the marketing agency that kind of facilitates everything for Mizzou athletes. So, Brad Larondo, who was the CEO previously, left for Washington State with Kirby Moore. So he followed him to Wazoo. So, of course, Mizzou needed a new CEO. That is where Mr. Mario Mochia comes in. He is going to be taking over on April 1st. Not an April Fool's joke, but he will be taking over on April 1st to be the new leader of Every True Tiger brands, which basically facilitates the entirety of Mizzou's NIL, football, basketball, baseball, softball, women's basketball, gymnastics, all of it. It's facilitated through Every True Tiger, basically. There's some outside ones as well, but for the most part, everything goes through Every True Tiger. Millions and millions of dollars get distributed through there. So the revenue sharing is extremely, extremely new, and so it allows life departments to distribute about $20 million directly to the student athletes. So basically, he's going to be responsible for making sure that Mizzou remains in that $20.5 million cap, how it gets shared, what kind of those deals look like. I mean, what kind of agencies they partner with, what kind of places in Colombia they do business with. All of those kind of things are going to go through him. So a little bit about him. He was the athletic director at Southern Illinois from 2006 till 2014. Wow, words are hard right now. He was also previously the athletic director at Mexico State, and he also spent 8 years at Mizzou from 1998 to 2006 as an associate AD. He worked in revenue generation and external operations. So for him coming back, being the new face of Every True Tiger is interesting. We don't really, from behind the scenes, you don't really get to see what that looks, or from outside, from behind the scenes, you don't really get to see what that looks like. But the players are making money, they're getting paid, and they're able to play football and make money. So it's great to see for the athletes. And Every True Tiger has been around since NIL has been a thing. You see a couple of the ads when you're in Colombia. The Trago Million one is definitely the one that comes to mind for sure, and the Luther Burden chips when he was there. But those Every True Tiger, what it's going to mean, we will find out shortly and more in the future. But basically, it's kind of designed to maximize the NIL opportunities. Got launched in 2022, so it's basically bridging the gap and kind of helping out local businesses to connect athletes. So a very, very big deal in terms of getting players to Mizzou, especially for the football team. But from what it looks like from the outside looking in, doesn't really seem like much. But of course, it's going to play a major role. Something else is going to play a major role for Mizzou are the playmakers on the Tigers offense. So Chip Lindsey did in his press conference on Tuesday. That was the last time the media got to talk to the Tigers players and coaches. He was nonstop talking about playmakers. Basically, from reports and from articles that I've read this past week, he's basically said the word playmakers over and over and over again in the course of the 10 minutes that he talked about on Tuesday after the practice. So basically, who are those playmakers? You probably know them. It's Ahmad Hardy, running back 1, Jamal Roberts, RB2, Donovan Olubade, wide receiver 1, Caden Lee, wide receiver 2, Caleb Goody, wide receiver 3, it appears, and Brett Norfleet, tight end 1. Those are going to be your playmakers. So those are the guys that Chip Lindsey's probably going to be looking to get the ball in their hands, see what they can do. He basically said, I'll give you a couple quotes. He said, what we're going to try and do all spring, put the foundation of the offense and build relationships, get to know our team, find out who our playmakers are. Just a couple minutes after that, I think the biggest thing for us, no matter if we've run these comp sets or plays before, is to find out who our playmakers are. So basically, reading through just about every article you can see on what Chip Lindsey said, he's talking about playmakers. Just playmakers, which is really, really awesome to see as a Mizzou fan. You want the ball in your best player's hands. That's the biggest thing, is get the ball. Austin Simmons can distribute it, get it to Ahmad Hardy, hand it off, check it down, run a screen, hit Caden Lee on a quick slant, let him run 8 yards down the field, make it third and manageable. Donovan Olubade, take some shots down the field, let him make some sweet grabs. The guy's a stud. So getting the ball in the playmakers' hands is something Chip Lindsey has definitely emphasized. Jamal Roberts definitely didn't have as much of an impact as Ahmad Hardy. Ahmad Hardy, of course, the 1,600 yards on the ground and 6 touchdowns. Jamal last year had 750 yards on the ground with 6 touchdowns. And definitely, of course, talking about Caden Lee and Caleb Goody, both transferring in, and Olubade was a star as a true freshman for Mizzou last year. 30 catches for 400 yards and 2 touchdowns, and he didn't really come on until the end of the year. There's a lot of Marquise Johnson, a lot of Kevin Coleman, but towards the end of the year, you really saw Donovan Olubade shine, and that's what kind of the freshmen have been doing. And that leads us into our final talking point today is Shaun Terry II. If you don't know Shaun Terry II, you might want to get to know the guy. He's looking like he's probably going to be wide receiver 4 for the Tigers, just based on what Coach Drinkwitz has been saying about him. So there's articles that have come out that saying he has had an unbelievable offseason and that Coach Drinkwitz is really excited about him. Not a transfer. He was here in Columbia last year, but didn't get to play much because of a nagging knee injury. He actually only appeared in 2 games. He caught 1 pass for 9 yards against Louisiana in 2025 out of Ohio. And a bunch of the wide receivers who played with him have great things to say about him. So he only played 18 snaps last year, had that knee injury he actually suffered in the spring, just kind of lingered throughout the season. But Donovan Olubade talked about basically how great he is at football and just the fact that he understands it. Like he understands the ins and out of it. He understands how to run routes. And I thought something that was really, really interesting was Kevin Coleman Jr. actually talked about Shaun Terry at the combine, and he said that he was showing him how to be a great leader and a great teammate, but he's also shown him how to be a great receiver. Basically, he was he was staying after, I mean, even banged up, staying after practice, using the jugs machine, kind of showing that commitment to the team, and that's why he stayed a Missouri Tiger, not transferring, ready to earn his spot. Expect him to start the season as a wide receiver 4. He's a smaller guy, definitely more of that Kevin Coleman size, 5'11", about 175. So maybe, I mean, if the Tigers are running 4 wide receiver sets, you probably see Caden Lee and Shaun Terry kind of closest to the offensive line, with Alubade and Caleb Goody split out wide in that X and Y receiver position. So maybe some cool things to come out of Shaun Terry. I mean, of course, we learn more as camp goes on, but for Coach Drinkwitz to kind of go out of his way and talk about how special he's been, how great of an unbelievable offseason. I mean, that's quite the comment for a guy who didn't play much football last year. So really, really cool to see, and that'll do it for today's episode of Mizzou Daily. Hope you guys all have a great weekend, and we'll recap some more spring ball news on Monday.